What's good, people? Welcome back to another episode on the Talkin Loud podcast. And it's been a while since we hung out with you guys and had a guest on the show. So I'm super excited for today, man. And today we're going to talk about one of the most important steps, probably the most important step in your entire run. You guys got it right. Drop it in the comments. Let me know if you think you know what that is. But the last episode we actually did when it came to this episode got taken down for some reason. So today I'm super stoked to have back on the show my homie Lance. How's it going, man?
What's up, man? It's going great. I love your intro, by the way, man. I see all those friends up there in your collage. It's super dope, man. It's good to be back.
Thank you, man. I also like the GTA, the GTA San Andreas thing I brought in. I like that. We were just talking about cars offline, man. So all those sort of stuff would probably be sort of right up our alley, man. But today,
100%.
man, I'm just super stoked to have you back on the show, Lance. Thanks so much for coming back to kick with us. Like I was telling you before, YouTube hit the last episode we did. It was doing so good. A lot of people actually interested in that topic when it comes to, the proper dry cure, the great product you guys got. So today I do want to talk a little bit about that and the dry and curing, a little bit of FAQs when it comes to the growth bags. But before we get into any of that, Lance, just tell me what's been going on, man. I've been peeping your IG. Like, if you guys don't know about Lance, check him out. But shout yourself out and tell me a little bit about what's been going on, man.
Yeah, for sure. 805 Lance, always feel free to tag along. And then we always obviously do shout outs on via Grove Bags. Plenty of good stuff. We were talking about it, to your point, man. For me, it's cannabis, cars, and cuisine. I mean, those are my 3 C's that I'm always down for. So between my road trips and travel, I grew up, full disclosure, I'm a 3rd generation of an automotive family. Grew up in NorCal, obviously, around hippies in the plant, but also grew up around some pretty badass cars. So do a lot of traveling. So, my gosh, man, been around the world since we caught up. You and I last saw each other in person at MJ Biz in Las Vegas last December. Oh, man. And gosh, since then we had a handful of trips. I'd say the big one, Cannabis, that took place out in Barcelona back in March. And then this more recently was our trip to Berlin, our annual trip to Mary Jane. That was an insane show. We did a first ever competition cup on that show, which was pretty cool. And then also did several activations beyond just obviously having our booth at the trade show as well. But definitely been busy, man, traveling the world, spreading the word, and continuing to do good things with Terp Law.
I like that, man. That is amazing. Like I was saying, bro, every time I hop on IG and I see a dope car, some exquisite looking meal, I know it's Lance. I'm going to hit it a like. I'm intrigued. I want to see what's going on. But man, honestly, guys, check out what Lance has got going on. He got a great IG. We just got it up for you guys to see. But we were actually talking last time. You were supposed to come on to the show because you were doing so much traveling, dude. You went to all the different cups. You went out to MJ Berlin. You went out to, we were actually meet up at MJ BizCon last November out in Vegas. But you're doing a lot of traveling, man. So tell me a little bit about like what's going on when it comes to the traveling and what have you seen? Like, are you seeing a lot of home growers? And when it comes specifically to like drying and curing, do they use a lot of the grove bags? Like, just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So definitely, myself being a grower, I've been growing. I popped my first seed when I was 13, I want to say 13, 14, of course, found something in the bottom of the bag back when it was snap, crackle, pop, you're getting seeds and stems, date myself. But so been doing it for a minute. Definitely do it as a hobby and a passion on top of, again, working on cars and making food. But man, it is crazy. Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on. One thing I do put a lot of focus on is international legalization. That's something, I always love writing articles about, but also just love being out there and seeing it. This is a good example. This was out again at Mary Jane, which, there's several shows that go on in Europe. For those that don't know, there's a big movement in Europe. Yeah. A lot of people aren't aware, but technically it's not legal in the Netherlands. It's tolerated in Amsterdam or The Hague or Rotterdam. It's not legal in Barcelona, where we have Cannabis every year, which traditionally is the biggest international show. And, of the few hundred booths there, I think they have about 300 booths, 21% of them are genetics. So you get everything from like Barney's to James Loud, Royal Queen, Mosca, Alien Labs, who we're kind of buddied up with this last year. But yeah, man, they're definitely, the growing scene is bigger than ever, not just domestically, but internationally. I'd say, I'm really stoked because we do make an impact. We've been trying to spread the word because you're right, man. Like if you grow, that growing's only half the battle. I mean, even I'm a full-term outdoor. I'm very thankful. I'm very fortunate to be based out of Southern California, blessed with good weather. So I'm
Yeah.
able to do full-term outdoor. I start with seed, and I love it. It's great, but I respect even after those several weeks of, obviously growing out there in the backyard, you need to put as much focus and emphasis on how you take down, how you dry, how you trim, how you cure, how you store, or for those of us that age, how you age your bud, right? After you
Yeah.
cure it. So we constantly at Grove Bags and myself personally, we always lead with education.
Yeah.
We always help people understand what is the best practices for putting out the absolute best product, no matter if it's just for you or if it's for you and your friends like me, or if you're doing it in the industry, you're doing it, for a business.
Yeah.
You really got to put focus on that, man. And the little things matter, and if you do it right, you'll definitely master the craft, and you'll put out a product that definitely proves it, and you're tasting bud. You're just like me, man. That's when I travel around the world, to be a Mary Jane and to have some really phenomenal local growers coming out of the German market, rather be out of Bavaria or out of neighboring countries, and then wanting me to sample their product, knowing where I come from, knowing my background. It's a friend of mine out of the Czech Republic. That's a friend of mine out of Chile, out of Santiago. It's just, that's Mossy Giant out of Amsterdam. It's always a reunion when I'm on the road, because so many of these people, they are my ears and eyes on the street and what's going on. Some friends out of Denmark. I mean, it's really cool. But yeah, man, it's just educating and helping people understand on how they can do the job the easiest, the best, the most efficient, and making sure they're putting out the best product at the end of the day.
I love that. I absolutely love that, man. Guys, if nothing else, hit the like for that. Definitely hit the like for that. Show some love. But also, this is a live show, guys. So drop it in the comments down below if you guys got any questions when it comes to today's episode. Drop it in the comments down below. Let us know. We're going to try to get those answered for you. And also, like I said, it's going to be a live FAQ at the end when it comes to all the Grove Bag stuff. So if you guys got any questions, you guys are running them. I know a lot of you guys are. Then we can definitely get into that, man. But Lance, you like seen so many people. I just showed you a quick clip, and you're like, this guy's from Chile, this guy's from Netherlands, this guy's from France. It's crazy to see how many growers are growing all over the world, right? And sort of on that note, guys, watching right now, drop it in the comments. Let me know where you guys are tuned in from. And Lance, what have you noticed? Like when you see all these people, what is one thing that you can say runs, like what's one common theme, between all these home growers?
Yeah, 100%, man. The one common theme, you have it, I have it, is the passion. Like, you can be doing it for whatever reason. You can be doing it because you love the grow, because you love the plant. Maybe you love the end result. Maybe you love that end product. I mean, I enjoy the brownies, the cookies, the flour that I make. Like, I love all that. But like, just being passionate, that's the one really commonality or synergy that's across the board. And it doesn't matter if I'm in South America, Australia, Asia, and Thailand, over in Europe. Like, the people that come up, it's a universal language, man. And we talked about, but like, it's right up there with food and music. It's like world beat, EDM. It's obviously the food that we need to eat. This was a smoked special. So this really fun, man. We sponsor the Coffee Shop League. Good friend of mine, Craig, out of the UK. He puts this on in Amsterdam, brings all the best flour out. And we were doing some competition judging while we were there in Amsterdam just before going to Mary Jane up in Berlin. But man, all these guys, they're just good vibes. Like, I don't know how else to put it. They're all family. I know I'm an OG. I get I'm an old head. I'm in my 40s, call it late 40s. But, you see guys, I mean, that's a buddy of mine, Captain Hooter. I mean, he's got a few years on me, but you see some guys that are in their 20s and 30s. We're all equally as passionate. It's not so much an age thing. It's not a background. It's not what language you speak or where you're brought up. That common thread is our passion for cannabis. Like, I don't know how else to put. Like,
and what is beautiful too, like you said, it's like a universal language. So like you can be anywhere. You can be in Amsterdam. You don't speak any of that Dutch at all. You can be in Brazil. Someone brings out a glass dab rig. You're gonna be like, yep, we on the same level right here, bro. Bring me that dab rig. We're about to hit that up. Or if they just bring out a few Rizzlers, a few papers, you're like, yep, let's roll one up. Universal language, man. It's always good vibes, right? From
100%.
Germany, I'm seeing Germany in the chat right now, from all over the world, bro.
Dude, OG Kendrick. Yeah, and OG I'm guessing might have been out there. If you weren't to Mary Jane, maybe you're heading over to there's going to be the Canna Fair down in Dusseldorf, Germany. I know a lot of the guys. Shout out to Germany though, man, to let you know. Props to them. They're 83 million pop. They're the largest country in the EU, fourth largest GDP in the world. And I'm not saying that the US is backwards, but we are behind. Like, it's interesting because anyone's familiar with international, a lot of times we are criticized for not being up to date when it comes to education or when it comes to just forward thinking about politics.
Yeah.
But man, then you go to Germany. It's like, this is Germany. They are essentially that leader of the EU, and they legalized adult use, and they put the home grower and they put the care first, the consumer first, instead of putting the corporate first and the profit first. Like,
Yeah.
that's huge. And these people are shouting out, man, this is awesome. I mean, people from Maine, people from Vegas, like
Everywhere.
all these guys shout out. And I know they've got
Australia.
Australia. Man, you guys got a great scene in Oz. I did a road trip one year when I was with Weed Maps from Brizzy all the way down to Sydney, 1,000 kilometers, man. That's 600 miles. The people that I met going to places like Nimbin for Mardi Gras or the Gold Coast, or hanging out with DJ Ism and Bliss and Esso down in Sydney, like it's just so hard to explain, but like it's almost like a secret handshake. It's like, you're pro weed, you're all about this plant, you're in, you're a good guy, you're one of us. And I'm not saying it's perfect. There's definitely people who are just in it for profit, or people who are in it for clout. That's fine. But man, the good vibes is definitely in first place when it comes to this movement.
I think that's the most important thing too, right? Because a lot of people have that, misconception that, oh, stoners are so and so. But at the end of the day, the community is just all about love. I've gotten nothing but love from the community. Of course, there are a few bad apples, as they are with everything, but for the most part, it's overwhelming love, and I think that that's amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, just being able to see you go on all these, trips and stuff like that, it sort of got me, thinking maybe we can talk a little bit about the iCan Champions of Frost Cup, because you guys have partnered up with us for that, so thank you for that. But guys, we're looking for all you guys to find some of the frostiest flower that you guys can find. And it's going to be all about how you grow it, but also about how you dry and cure, that post-harvest process. And that is where some of these grove bags will come in, because personally I've got different grove bags, different sizes. I've got some that I haven't even used yet that I pulled out for the show just to show you guys, and we're going to have some custom iCan ones coming out soon as well. But when it comes to the actual drying and curing, let's pivot into the iCan Championship Frost Cup and talk about the drying and curing. So, Lance, what are a few things that you found? Because you've done all these travels, you probably tasted so much flower from Spain, from Germany, from here in America, Canada, Thailand, probably everywhere. So you probably understand how important the dry and cure is. But for those who don't, why is that the most important step in their entire run?
100%. So you spend all that time, all that energy, all that money to put out no money, or if you're an outdoor organic guy, or if you're an indoor with synthetic or whatever you're running, you spend so much time and energy. You guys know that. And again, growing's half the battle. I'm not saying it's easy. That's why I don't typically use the term weed with this plant, because anyone can grow weeds. I put this up there with tomatoes and roses, and I have those in my garden too. Like, you really have to give time and energy, in the amount of love that you put into this plant shows. People, and again, I speak to the audience at large. If you haven't properly flushed your plant, you can taste that in the finished product. If you haven't properly cured your plant, you can taste that in the finished product. So it's things like that where people that do put emphasis. And again, that's why I get that we're such a passionate community, because we care from seed to social, not the corporate mentality, not the seed to sale like we used to in Colorado back in the early teens. Like, that's very narrow-sighted, and that's very corporate thinking. Like, what is the experience all the way to that social? Shout out to Italy. You guys got good stuff going. The Italians, let me go on a tangent. This is good. I'm glad Stefano, man, you guys, the Italians were the ones that taught me how to age my bud. So I will tell a story. And this is something admittedly I did before I started incorporating grow bags into my process for curing. I was out at Cannabis. I want to say it was like 2017.
Okay.
And again, to your point, man, like, it's like a Benetton commercial. Like, you have people from around the world. I can't stress enough. If anyone ever wants to do a vacation that revolves around this community and this plant, a couple of places I'd recommend. One would be going to Cannabis, obviously out there in Barcelona. It's in spring, it's in March. There's no excuse anyone needs to go to Barcelona. The other I would say now is definitely Mary Jane up in Berlin.
You need to go to Barcelona. Don't listen. You need to go to Barcelona.
If you love genetics, if you're kind of a landrace geek like me, you need to go. The conversations I have with guys who geek out, whether it be the guys that are bringing, stuff out of the Afghani region, stuff they're bringing Thai, that are bringing Swahili and Durban out of South Africa. Wow. I mean, you literally run into guys that bring some of the best genetics. But the one thing the Italians taught me is a couple of guys from Italy, and they started talking to me about not just curing, but aging your bud. And this is something I do every time, man. So I'm in SoCal, my RH, my ambient's about 40% relative humidity. I can maintain on my cure about 60. I can't get lower. I know some of my friends in NorCal back home do like a 50%, 55% ambient on cure, or excuse me, on dry before going into cure. I can't get that low, but I am very cognizant about the humidity. So I make sure to dry, and I'm pretty much about a 60, 60, 14, right? Then I segue into curing. Same thing. I used to do jars. I'm an old head. You guys can see the gray hair. I earned it. I used to run it in jars until I learned how little jars actually do from a beneficial standpoint. Started putting it in bags. But really, I used to cure for a couple of weeks, right? Do the old school burping before I started going into bags. Now I go into bags. You put it in at the right about 11 to 12% moisture content, 50 to 60% relative humidity. Put it in, you seal the bag, you leave it for 2 weeks. But if you want to age it, leave it in there for up to 2 months. And that's what the Italians taught me. I never had friends in my network tell me I should compete until I started aging my bud. And I have friends in Italy, they'll age their bud for upwards of 6 months. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, Lance, terpenes. Us Italians, we know wine. What does wine have? What do terpenes and tannins? Cannabis have. So they started explaining this to me, how they stair step down their RH while maintaining an ambient through the cure and all the way into aging. And once I learned that, once I did that, literally I had friends that are like, man, I've never had flower from you like this. So again, shout outs. The Italians are the ones that taught me how to properly cure. Some places they don't have time to cure, right? If anyone's been to Amsterdam, the stuff just isn't fresh. It isn't properly cured. It's all over the place. Oftentimes it's shipped in from south of Spain. Other times it's attic grows around the Netherlands.
Literally.
It's just, they don't have time. They don't have the energy, but you go to other places where they spend that time and energy. And how it makes a difference is there's a lot that's going on with that flower at a molecular level, right? There's a lot that's going on where you have terpenes maturing, you have cannabinoids maturing. A good example, one of my favorite cannabinoids is CBN. So those that know cannabinol is just an oxidized iteration of THC, right? So there's a little bit of CBN that exists in the plant when it's growing, just a natural byproduct that's happening during that flower state. But really that CBN comes into effect from getting oxidized over time. And that's one thing that I'm a big fan of. So I know how to manipulate the plant and how to manipulate that during the curing process in order to get a little bit more CBN. And what's cool about CBN? Natural sleep, right? It's almost like myrcene of the terpenes, right? You have myrcene, it's a little bit more of a sedative, versus pinene, that's a little bit more of that alertness. It's the same with cannabinoids, right? So you get a little more CBN, you get more of that relax, you get more of that, I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And when we know, gosh, almost 2/3 of the population that consumes cannabis consumes it in the evening hours to help with sleep and relaxation. So that's something that's good to know. That's something that you can manipulate and get out of the plant in that post-harvest process. There's very little you can do. Unlike, you guys know, we all went through, and again, I'm going to date myself. The real purple movement was back with GDP and back with Purple Urkel in the 2000s. The latest purple movement, right? Everyone wanted this flashy purple when we were going through all the dessert strains, right? Your wedding cake, your ice cream cake, your 41 gelato, your RS15, your RS25.
Oh, gee.
When they were bringing purple into it, they're just messing with the lighting. You guys know, just manipulating stuff in those last several days of the grow.
Good point.
Same, right? But those are things that you can manipulate during the growing process. Other things you can only manipulate during that curing process. So it's a very important step if you really want to master the art. Some of the people we've had as guests, man, like you've had Jorge Cervantes, fan, friend of his. Ed Rosenthal, some of his practices, huge fan in approach and how he goes about it. James Loud, he grows, he's a good friend. I love his genetics. He is a phenomenal grower. I don't think people realize just how loud his stuff is, literally, metaphorically speaking, right? So there's a lot of people who are doing it right. And one thing I will say as well, the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. Anyone that thinks they know everything about this plant, I'm sorry, you guys, there's always more to learn. But that's James's. I'm totally biased. I don't know him, but man, I love that guy. His genetics are great. His book is great. Again, so is Ed Rosenthal's. I've got his over my shoulder. Ed's latest
There are
growing.
actually a few people in the chat right now that I think have this book. Shout out Cavbar Jones, shout out to Rue. There are tons of people that support James. And shout out to James Loud, man. We gotta big him up as well. But I just sort of want to touch on what you did say, because you were talking about aging, and that's something that I think you said you learned from the Italians, and that is like very similar to what you mentioned with aging wine. Like a fine wine, things get better with time. People refer to some of those sports players as they get older, they get better with age. That type of thing. And I've noticed the same with flowers. So I'm putting out a question to everyone in the chat right now. What's the longest that you guys have ever cured your flower for? Ever cured your flower? What's the absolute longest? For me, it's about, I will say just over a year. So I'll say about 13 months. And I have noticed like the colors change a little bit, got a little bit darker, but the flower tasted and smelled so good, man. So I think there's definitely a truth to keeping your hands out of the proverbial cookie jar, right? Keep your hands out of the damn grove bag.
That is it, man. That's so I've got, I love some of our flashy. So this is our QP bag. As a home grower, I love running our quarter pounds, right? Our 100-gram bags. But this is a good example. This is from 2 seasons ago. Yeah. 2 seasons ago. And to your point, a little bit darker, but my gosh, just the flavor profile in the experiential, as far as the high goes, is so balanced. And to your point, because it's obviously been cured, but at this point, it really has been aged, right? This has been a few years that it's been sealed in this bag. And that is a nice thing, because compared to it, and not to get a selfless plug, but compared to glass, where we worried about how long those seals, because you guys know Mason, Ball, wherever you get the jars, they only have a year guarantee on the seal. And that's for a reason, because they degrade. The same with stainless steel. Stainless steel is not such a good thing to have terpenes come in contact with. You'd be surprised. But some of the other means, turkey bags are nylon. They allow too much transient as far as oxygen and moisture to escape from that environment. So you're going to have that oxidation. You're going to end up with plant matter that's high in CBN. So the way that you store your flower matters and maintain that quality. Because I don't know about most, but if I'm taking down a pound or two, I'm not blazing an ounce a day. Like, I need a safe way to store it and maintain that quality from a medicinal or from a recreational standpoint. You really need to have that balance to maintain that freshness,
Yeah, that is such a great point. And I've actually just dropped that poll in the chat for you guys. So I want to see what all you guys think. I've seen a lot of different comments already coming in. Shout out to Growing with the Vic, the iCan VIP Bean Club homie says, for him, 6 weeks, man. That seems like a decent place. So sort of like just around the 2 months, maybe just a little bit early. But for me personally, I aim for about 2 months. That's the minimum I would aim for. I would try to get it out as long as possible. If I can do 6 months, it's fine. I actually just cracked some flour and I was looking at it to try to see when this was from. And the date on it is actually the 27th of the 12th, 2023. And it's a jar I have here. I don't have it in the grow bag, but I keep my dates on everything. So this tells me when it actually went into jar. So this slurricane went into the jar on the 27th of December last year. The date's a little bit mixed up because, you guys in the US do
international,
yeah. If you're international, you know what's up. But that's literally a great way to tell when you put it into jars, how long do I need to keep my hands out of that damn jar? And you can go in every day, smell it, you crack it in and see how it goes, see how it smells. And the smell just gets better every single time. Now, I'm seeing a lot of questions actually coming in about grove bags, guys. So drop those in. I'm actually pulling those out, and I'm going to ask a lot of those at the end, because in a bit, we're going to segue into the Know Your Bud segment, which is a brand new segment I have for you, Lance. And also, we're gonna do a little bit of a FAQ for you guys, so we're gonna head into that also at the end. Now, I'm seeing so many varying things. People are saying 2 months, 30 days, 13 months.
Let me tell you guys, and we kind of got a winner already, because man, that's exactly what you said, right? So we did a study with a lab out here on the West Coast. Again, I'm in SoCal. There's a lab up in Lompoc, which is just up in Santa Barbara County, about an hour and a half north of me, right?
Yeah.
And so it was considered a long-term study, and I'll tell you why. So we did the initial, okay, let's store it in grow bags, and then they tested it, to your point. Now, we do recommend, again, heat sealing it, set it, and forget it. If you want to continue to smell it and test and all the rest of it, do a smaller bag, do a little ounce bag, do a little pinch bag, get yourself a quarter, whatever, and be that bag that you want to open and pinch, taste, test, whatever, right?
Smart.
But the rest of it, keep it sealed, leave it alone, because to your point, man, the spatula doesn't cook the chicken, the pan does. Just leave it, man. Just stop poking it, stop playing with it, just set it and forget it. Be Ron Popeil, right? But man, you're 2 months. So we did this study, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So as far as for grow bags compared to a jar, because that is our biggest, old school competitor would be a jar. So we did surpass them within that 2 weeks as far as optimal terpene and cannabinoid percentages. But interesting enough, to your point, man, the optimal, and this is interesting. So you see this kind of mapped out, and we've got this as white papers on our website.
Yeah.
But it climaxed as far as the top percentage of terpenes and cannabinoids, 8 weeks. You guys nailed it. Those that did 8 weeks. It doesn't hurt to go longer. Just know that you're plateaued. So if you do go longer than 8, if you go 10 weeks, 12 weeks, if you keep it in a bag, you keep it in there for a year, you keep it in our bag for 2 years, whatever it is, just know that you're going to hit that optimal percentage in a majority of times. It's going to be at the 8-week mark. I know you guys, sometimes you're anxious, right? You get, again, if you're not autos, if you're running regs like me, months, dude. I mean, literally, I'm putting seeds in the ground until March. I'm not taking them out till October, November, right? Whole term. Like, I drag that out. But having said that, if you can just wait for just a couple more months in that process, I guarantee it'll be the best you've ever had. I definitely guarantee that. That is something we found with that study. And that's why we do those studies, man, because it's like, don't take my word for it, even as a grower, even as half the team being growers. Like, don't take our word for it. Let's trust a third party. And we're doing another study right now. It's similar to that. So I'm pretty stoked.
I would say definitely try it yourself, guys. Try it yourself. Try something that you haven't cured for long, and try something that you've cured for that 2-month period, that 2-month mark. And you might notice, like, wow, this is actually a lot smoother, a lot more tasty. It smells better straight out of the bag. Little things like that you may really notice. So interesting one, Lance. Thanks for that. So also, where can people find that study? Is there a link to that study or something?
There is. Yeah, we've got it on our blog page. So we have white papers on there, obviously. And again, you guys, and just background on me. So I come from the education side, coming from media. Man, love it up north. If that's the up north, I know. If that's up north, NorCal, shout out to you guys, man. That's awesome. Love seeing that. So me coming from education, came out of being the GM at the Cannabis, was running media weed maps for years. I've been a writer myself since 2005. I still write monthly articles. Like, you really need to lead with education, because you guys, again, it's collaborative, it's community. That's how this started. That's how this was back in the 80s and 90s when I got into it in NorCal, man. I mean, not just because hippies are friendly and love to share and it's all about one love. Like, literally, they knew that if you took an approach of an us and we versus I and me, there would be more success. And that's how legalization, not to get on a soapbox, you guys, the first place to legalize cannabis in this country was 1990 in San Francisco. Specifically, it's Prop P. It was in the city and county of San Francisco. Even the state didn't come online until 96 when they passed Prop 215. So these guys have been doing it for a long time. But the whole reason why that legalization came about was because of people like Dennis Perone and Brownie Mary that were doing it for the community. They weren't doing it for themselves. They did not pass away rich people. They passed away rich in happiness and being able to help others. So not to be on a rant, but man, you guys, we do it for the right reasons. So
no, I'm with you on board with that fully. And I did not even know that. I thought, for some reason, it was Colorado that was the first. But when you say the first
adult use, first recreational.
Okay, I got you. That's interesting, man. So the first place was actually somewhere in California.
Yeah, it was San Francisco, the city and county, the medical Prop P. It was something, again, Dennis Perone. Shout out to this guy. He was a motivation for me. He passed away a handful of years ago. He got to see legalization. He was kind of against, just a quick side story, he was against Prop 64, which is our adult use, because he really looked at the plant, again, as a medicinal solution, as most of us do. I'm a medical advocate. People call me an activist. I'm not an activist because I'm not raised fist. I'm open hand. I'm trying to help people, educate them, right? Like, just let me educate you. If you want to learn, that's great. If not, don't take it, right? So, but Dennis was pretty adamant about that it should be, and always should be, a medicinal solution, a medical solution. And I respect that. As a medicinal patient, do I like the benefits from an adult use or recreational standpoint? Absolutely, man. I quit drinking years ago because of this plant, because I didn't have the time, energy, and at the end of the day, in my own opinion, alcohol is a poison, whereas this is a remedy. So alcohol makes you forget and make mistakes. this medicine makes me remember and become better.
And
So
be more creative,
yeah,
dude. All
yeah.
that. I
Half the
agree.
marketing ideas I come up with, trust me, I'm definitely enjoying one when, when I'm coming up with those plans.
I could
All of
definitely
a
see Lance
sudden,
blazing up a big one and being like, "Yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna murk the shit out of this marketing, man." Like,
exactly,
yeah,
man. Let's solve world problems. I mean, it's just, it really does. And again, I'd have to say, if more people consumed in this world, and you see it, man, like, dude, you're in Colorado, man. I cut my teeth in the legal market. I know it's weird to leave California to get into the legal market in Colorado, but I moved out there in 2014. I was there for the movement, and
yeah,
we saw, man, domestic disputes went down, wet and reckless, driving while intoxicated, right? All those numbers, all those stats went down when legalization came out. And oh, by the way, teen use and illicit use went down as well. So to say that this isn't a good thing or this isn't a good movement, and I know it's not for everyone.
yeah,
I completely respect that. I
yeah.
totally understand it's not for everybody. But the fact that it's been suppressed in this country for a century because the man was using it to weaponize minority groups is an embarrassment. And we need to right the wrongs. And again, you see the movement globally. Here's a fun fact for you guys. There are over 53 legal countries in the world right now that have legal. The Ukraine, in the middle of a war, legalized medical cannabis. Again, Germany, adult
Wait,
use.
Ukraine legalized in medicinal in the middle of the war, bro?
Yeah, I
I
wrote
did
an
not even
article
know
on it,
that.
man. I'll send you the link. Yeah,
I should
like
see that. I
seriously.
need
Yeah,
to check that out.
yeah. And the
Lance is
president
on
was
top
pro.
of things.
He was pro from conversation, man. And now, of course, they're trying to produce domestically, but because of circumstance, they're having to source outside of their borders. But
Yeah,
places like Israel, you would not think Israel is the capital for both medical and scientific studies of this plant.
yeah.
Millions of dollars go into there, and it's the University for Cannabis and Cancer, which, as a cancer survivor, I'll tell you right now, if I ever came out of remission, like that is the place I would go to get
I
help.
had
I
heard
would not
about
go to Western
Israel,
medicine.
so I knew about that one. But the first time I heard, I was like, "What, Israel?
Yeah,
Like they allow that?" It's
yeah.
crazy. But
They
they've
have a
actually
medical
got
program.
so many research facilities out there too. Like
Yeah,
Dynamico, they got their own mycorrhizal inoculant facility based out there, and they do tons of testing on cannabis plants. It's crazy. That
yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah, it's true, man. And it's again, South Korea has a medical program. Thailand has a now Thailand's trying to back out of adult use,
I seen
but
that.
even Japan's working on their medical program. We've got Ireland is in medical beta. France is in medical beta programs right now. The Netherlands, they're actually moving forward with an adult use beta program right now. So it's a global movement. I respect that it's a local movement. And again, growing up in NorCal, I appreciate that it was a local
Yeah.
movement. But we're so past that, you guys. It is such a global thing. And the fact that you've got, again, almost a quarter of the countries in the world that have some sort of legal cannabis program speaks volumes.
Yeah.
And so we're winning this movement, you guys. We're definitely winning it.
And slow and steady, small steps better
Yeah.
than no steps, man. And shout out to everyone in the chat, guys. I gotta ask you guys, hit that like. Please do hit that like. We got almost 300 people already on the live. Hit that like, show some love. And I want to see at least 300 likes, man, because we're gonna get in now, like Smoke the Hitman says, into the Know Your Bud segment, right?
Yeah.
Which we haven't had Lance on, so I'm excited. And
This
after
is
that, I'm
sweet.
seeing all the questions coming in about the grow bags, about drying and curing. We're gonna try to answer those. I pulled them out. So if you guys got any questions, drop them in there, man. But Lance, let's get into the Know Your Bud segment, man. And I
Yes.
like to say that everyone that comes onto the show is my bud. And I like to find out what you do with your buds. I think the last time you were on the show, it was 3 of us on the show. So I wasn't
Yes.
actually able to do this, So, and since then, we've actually got some new cool questions. So I'm freaking stoked right now. It's
Yep.
probably going to take you back to like secondary school or high school when you were like doing multiple choice. You had to pick one or pick the other one, and just pick why you pick it. So it's something like that, right? No right or wrong answer. Just tell me what's your preference, and that's
And
it.
no stoke smoke. It doesn't make anything taste like plastic or smell like plastic. Sorry, I had to answer the question on the
Oh, I seen that. I thought I pulled that one out for the side. That one was to deal with afterward, but it's all good. We got it answered for you, bro. But yeah, man. So there's no right or wrong answer to it. Just
Okay.
Just let me know what's your preference and why, right? So first off, when it comes to your actual flowers, right? You said you grew a bunch of different flowers before, all types of stuff. I heard you mention regs. What's your preference, fems or regs?
It's regs. I'm old school, so I'm a total land race geek. I wish I could share a picture right now. I think I have one from a while back on IG. A quick story: I had a friend from South Africa. He asked me if I could bring anything, And I said, if you can just bring some landrace, so some Durban poison. So we grew that up at a friend's farm. And oh my gosh, man, it literally looked like an avocado tree. So it was insane. So I'm into regs. I respect autos though. And the people that have made me appreciate and respect autos are the Europeans.
Hell
I
yeah.
have to give a shout out to my friends in Europe because I understand why, I understand how. Again, I get indoor. I respect that indoor is a necessity. I know not everyone has the environment that we do, so
Yeah.
I totally get it. But I'm a regs guy at heart, and I know there's risk. I had two gals and a guy pop, and of course the guy was right in the middle of the two ladies, and I didn't pull him out in time. So all of a sudden I was turning into a genetics geek growing seeds, which
All
I
of a
didn't.
sudden you had two girls, one guy going on, two girls, one guy action.
Mother Nature.
So, when we try to keep things one way, they're gonna flip it all around.
Yeah, but I do. I run F1, so I'm good friends with Peter Severi. He runs a Future Canvas project. Shout out to him, another friend with a great podcast. And he connected me with one of his geneticists out of Santa Cruz, and he wanted to have a handful of us run from different Appalachias, from different places. So I ran the outdoor full, and man, it was a Zihuataneja, which is a Mexican land race crossed with a Thai. And this thing was so crazy, man, because it was some of the fattest leaves I ever seen, which was odd. And then once it flipped from veg to flower, it went to your traditional double serrated Thai, right? And it was the craziest thing I ever saw. And they were tall and lengthy by the time they got into veg, and it wasn't a huge yield. But running genetics for the first time on a first run, it was such a unique experience just to see how this plant just expressed itself. And that's the kind of stuff you get with messing with regs versus knowing exactly what you're going to get, when you're going to get, when it's going to take that, right? All those things. Again, but I definitely respect the femmes in the autos. And it's thanks to the Europeans to help me understand that.
And like I said, it's no right or wrong answer. It's all about your preference. That's what makes this segment so great, man. Personally, I love regs. I have nothing against them. I actually think I prefer regs over femmes, just personal preference, But the next question, though, you finally harvested your eggs, right? You got some awesome ladies, some nice flowers. Are you going to dry trim them or are you going to wet trim them?
Oh, this is another one where I feel it's an obvious answer. And again, it's going to be an OG answer. You got to dry trim. You got to dry. I tried doing wet one time because I had, it was another genetic. I'm trying to think of who it was. Usually I have these memorized. Like you, I keep a diary.
Yeah.
But I took down someone, again, there were gens I never ran before. And it just felt like it needed to be wet trimmed.
Yeah.
That was the first and the last time I wet trimmed.
Have to keep your diary, man.
I can't, I just feel like, never mind the chloroform conversation or what's going on. There's a lot. And so I guess I should say too, I rough cut. And what that means is I do the old school. I'm more the bushy versus the clean high manis. I don't mind having little, tails and such and not having that perfect Christmas tree or golf ball finish.
The manicuring is not like extremely perfect. I'm the same way, bro. I'm gonna break it down anyway. Like I'm probably gonna pull these leaves off. Like
because the sugars have something, man. I mean, that's in for your frost cup, and love to be a judge. Definitely look forward to it if I was like. I would not judge people on if they had foxtails or if they had a kind of bias or non-symmetric or asymmetrical bud.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't knock them for having on additional sugar leaves because there's so many trichomes. Like if you got anyone that's out there, and I know some of you guys are out there like me, if you can't consume all of your flour, what do? You take it to concentrate. That stuff is valuable if you're taking it to concentrate. So I don't want to trim it and leave it on the ground or just make concentrates out of the trim alone, because I do feel like if I'm going to do concentrates, I want to do whole bud concentrates. So I kind of rough cut, but it's always dry trim for the win right before it goes in the bag. Yeah,
I got you. I like that, man. And that's a good point because a lot of people do that. I've had a few people on the show that say wet trim and the chat went crazy. So I think for your safety, it's probably better that you said dry trim. I don't know. So you finally dry trimmed everything, man. You got tons of flour. You got pounds upon pounds upon pounds. But you want to sample it. You want to taste it, right? Yeah. Are you going to go for a bong? Or are you going to go for a joint? What's your preference?
So it's tough. If you want to sample, I usually snap it. I don't roll it up because you just can't. And for those that geek out, and I know there's going to be some connoisseurs out there that agree, you really have to be cognizant of the moisture content, or if you aren't
Interesting.
tracking the inner bud moisture or bound water weight, the ambient, so we'd say the RH, but what level that's at matters on how you consume it. I'm 100% believer. Now, I mean, like you guys know, so I've got my G Pen. I've got like I do dry herb vaping as much as I roll up.
Yeah.
I do roll up a lot more on the road because it is more of a traditional approach. When you do go to places like Europe, Australia,
Yeah.
Asia, it's either a joint or a bong. There's not a lot in between. Now they have gotten a lot more into concentrate. Shout out again to these markets that are, you're starting to see more wax, more. I mean, hashisha goes without saying. That's all over your that's been there for,
Everywhere.
right,
Yeah.
from the Middle East to Western Europe.
Centuries.
Yeah, but getting into your wax, your shatter, your crumble, I mean, that is something that's more modern.
Yeah.
But for me, if I'm going to be drier vaping it, I want it a little bit wetter. If I'm going to be rolling it up, I want it a little bit drier, So if I'm going to be tasting it, I usually do just throw it in a bowl and snap it really quick just to get an idea of the profile. For sure.
Interesting, man. I like that. I go for the J, but I'm always interested to find out what people say. Yeah, and the glass got to be clean, bro. If it ain't clean, you ain't tasting it right.
Yeah, I'll pull a chill. I don't pull out. I've got a Red Dragon. Like I've got some pretty dope glass that people get. I'm very fortunate, the friends and the connections I have in the industry. I've gotten some great gifts. But there's like I'll usually just pull out a little glass piece, a little chillum or something, because glass is super clean. And not against either, man. I've got a Protheseus, which those are some phenomenal like 6061 aluminum with all
there's nothing
glasses.
else in it, right? So there's no paper burning to affect the taste. There's no glue at the end of that. Like I rip the glue off of my paper so I don't taste that glue. So I try to not get that little effect. But little things like that, man, it's probably the purest. Sometimes it goes through, like if it's a water bubble, it goes through the water and all that stuff. Okay, so you've finally gotten it, right? You put the whole nug in, you hit your bong, you're super ripped now. Lance is sitting down watching TV, but the hunger kicks in, the munchies kick in.
Oh man.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna grab some munchies, right? You're gonna grab some salty munchies, you're gonna grab some sweet munchies. You're going for the chocolate or the chips? What you going
salty
for?
Or sweet, man. You guys, and I know there's others that are gonna be in the chat that are with me. Sour Patch Kids, man. I don't know what it is. Like all my friends know, everyone knows I'm high if I'm asking for the Sour Patch Kids. I don't know what it is about those things. I love the sweet, and I guess, and I'm sure TSA and ICE and Border Patrol isn't listening in, but I mean, even when I travel, man, I put my edibles in. I take gummies first off. Like chocolate can melt, chocolate can be inconsistent. Like I always. On reserves, I've always got gummies, and I always throw my gummies in with my Sour Patch Kids, and I always know which is which, right? So I don't know, something about that sour and sweet versus that salty and savory. I respect it if I'm doing chocolate, but I'm always gummies for the win. They're always so easy and convenient.
I like him. I like him at different times, but my preference is that sweet, bro. My preference is that sweet, bro. Shout out to everyone in the chat dropping you guys' preferences, man. I love seeing this. Anthony says he loves Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Ranchers, man. That's another. You guys, again, I'm so old head in here, but like there used to be a Jolly Rancher factory for those in Colorado. The Jolly Rancher factory was out in Golden, and I used to tour that, man. It's like a little Willy Wonka tour. They sell you like a pound of Jolly Ranchers for a couple. They're all defects, right? They're all like they didn't wrap right coming off the line. And then ironically, Willy Wonka company that owns Willy Wonka bought out Jolly Rancher a handful of years ago. You guys go on Wikipedia this stuff, and they shut down the tour. They shut it down. I'm like, how ironic that Willy Wonka, which we all know the history in that story in the movie, they buy this factory at Jolly Rancher and then they shut down. I love Jolly Ranchers too, though. Definitely am down.
That is crazy.
Swedish Fish Nerds drop. Look at that. That's not your European influence right there.
So many great ones coming in.
They're cousins to the Sour
Patch Kids. Yeah, exactly. I love that, man. Okay, so you got your sugar rush, you got your salt rush, and you're feeling good, right? Now you fall asleep. You got a lot of work to do the next day, but you can only smoke once, right? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna do a wake and bake, or you're gonna do a nightcap? Which one are you gonna do? Wake and bake or nightcap?
I go hard, man. I admitted to being an alcoholic.
Before you answer the question, she's like, "So I go hard, man."
I admitted to being a workaholic years ago. So when I get up, I literally get up and go. Now, when I'm at home, I'm a moment of zen. I always start in the garden. I'm up at like 6:30 in the morning. And for those that grow, you guys know it's not a control thing. It's not an insecurity thing, but like it's just you feel at peace when you're with the plants. they talk to you, but they don't talk back. And you can relate to them and you respect them, and you've got your companion plants and you've got the right formula going on as far as your soil and your newts or your toppers. So like for me, it's my moment of zen. So I like to be fully focused in the morning. But again, as hard as I go, 10, 12-hour days, 15-hour days when I'm on the road, oh man, I so look forward to it. I just toke with friends and we just sit back and just recap on how dope Mary Jane was, or how crazy Spamus was, or how stupid MJ Biz was, whatever the topic is. And we just hang out and kind of take it all in. And again, that's the time to put on some good music, just chill out. And it depends what I'm smoking on, man. I remember a buddy of mine as a grower was invested in his operation years ago. He came across Rogue Genetics. It was Harlequin crossed with GDP. And for those that don't know, Harlequin, it's up there with like Suzy Q, Charlotte's Web. It's a really high CBD. It's really more known for medicinal. But it was Harlequin crossed with a Granddaddy Purple. And man, that was such a heady body balance. I literally just laid on the couch and listened to Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix was around before I was born. I'm not that old, but like I was like, I need to listen to Jimmy. I need to listen to something that like every single cymbal and every single riff is just gonna pop, right? Yeah. And that's how that high was, that I was just able to tune in and just fully process everything that was coming out of those speakers. And so it's really interesting because what I'm smoking on matters too, like what the experience is going to be. And that's because I'm big into terps, so I'm chasing terps more so than THC count. Anyone that's going over THC percentages, like, I'm guessing they're the same people that drink Everclear. Because for me, I want the flavor. I want the flavor and I want the experience.
I like that, man. Yeah. It's true though. People get what's the word I'm looking for? Hypnotized by that percentage mark. Man. They get carried away.
They do, and it's not oftentimes they don't play the games in all markets. Like that cup that we did, it was technically the skunk op name for it was called the Analytical Cup. We called it the Funky Grovey Cup. Yeah. But it was the Analytical Cup, and we partnered with Delta 9, and they gave the analytics on every cultivar. So we had the highest percentage of cannabinoids class, the highest percentage of terpene class, the highest percentage of CBD to THC class, right? These were what the competitions were about. But the thing that's upsetting, and there's still markets that do it today, don't believe the hype. I mean, if you believe that 40+% of that plant matter, that biomass is THC, no terps, no good. Spot on. The local 420 nailed it. Terps for president. You got like your audience knows, man. And half the numbers are moved out, you guys. Like literally, I've seen people that are sending in samples and they're keefing out the sample. Like, of course, it's going to test higher on THC. If you're floating a bunch of keef on your flower, you're just faking bacon at that point. You're not even legit. Yeah. So the thing that people are smoking, I'll tell you really quick. You had Swami on, right?
Yep.
Swami, Kevin Jodrey, Tina, a lot of the people up on the hill. One of the popular things that they're smoking up in NorCal right now, and they have been for years, is forbidden fruit. Guess what the average THC is for forbidden fruit across the country?
20%.
16. 16%.
Oh, I was going to say 18, but I didn't want. I was going to say 18, but I didn't want to go too low.
Man. Guess what the average terpene percentage is across the country, and then guess what it is for that cultivar. The average THC across the country is 21%. So you weren't too far off with the true national averages, right, by stats. But guess what the average terpene level is, and then guess what the average terpene is in that cultivar.
30?
No, for terpenes, the average terpene across the board is about 1.2%. You're a little over 1%, obviously, on whole plant matter. With forbidden fruit, man, 5%. And so for those that know, again, your audience knows, man. So cannabinoids are the engine. I'm going to get into my gearhead mode here. Yeah, exactly. 1.5. And that's pushing, right? So right now, the best way I can explain it is cannabinoids are the engine, terpenes are the steering wheel. So yeah, the cannabinoids will get you high, but the terpenes are what steer that high, what the experience is, right?
Great one.
If you're only going after high THC, it's like driving a car without a steering wheel. You don't know where you don't know where you're going to go. You're going to go into the stratosphere, but you don't know what that's going to be. Yeah. So yeah, 5% is right, and that's why there's definitely some loud cultivars. Don't chase the trending. And nothing against, hey, some of the guys have some of the poppin' terps and genetics out there. I get it. I respect it. It's what sells. That doesn't mean that's what us that are true connoisseurs want or need. Yeah. Right.
Shout
So
out, man. I gotta say, Lance, shout out because that was a great analogy, just like Stoked Smoke says. And there's also one last question I want to ask before we get into some of these questions you guys have dropped that we need to get into for the FAQ. So, Lance, the last question on the Know Your Bud segment, I like to
yeah.
say, is the 20-year-old me. So you're kicking it here with me, right? And you see 20-year-old you kick through that door and points at you and says, Lance, I'm challenging you to a smoke off. Who's going to win that smoke off? Is 20-year-old you going to win, or are you going to smoke 20-year-old you? Who's
I'm
going to win?
I'm gonna smoke 20-year-old me. That's funny. It's a great question. I've kind of cracked it, in my opinion, at least for my endocannabinoid system. This isn't for everyone, but for my
Yeah.
ECS, I feel like I've cracked the code. And the way that I balance keeping my tolerance in check so I don't have to take breaks is that I have favored edible over flower. And
Okay.
I microdose my edibles. But the weird thing for me is microdosing my edibles, I'm on point with my flower. So when I do consume flower, which is more so in the garden or more so on the road,
Yeah.
because it isn't always convenient when you're older, when you have a family, when you this, when you that, like, it's just, there's still stigma. I'm a Gen Xer, and a bunch of Gen Xers are acting like boomers these days with not knowing the legalization status and not knowing that cannabis is better than alcohol. I'm embarrassed to say that the millennial gen and the Z gen definitely have it together as far as knowing
Hop
that, like,
over here and hang out with us,
I
millennials.
know, man. Like, you guys get it. Alcohol's a poison. I know some of you still consume it, but like, you guys recognize, you see through the hype and you see through the corporate BS that is not healthy for you. And you get that. You
Yeah.
know that, right? You know that mushrooms and cannabis and other things that are coming up
Yeah.
in the legalization space do have more health attributes, and that's why elders in other worlds and other countries have been consuming it for years and look at it from a therapeutic standpoint. So I
Yeah.
would actually smoke myself out because I broke the code on how to manage my endocannabinoid system. So I'm proud to say that for sure.
Interesting one, man. And I guess as you got older, like more of the flowers started to get more potent and you build up a stronger resistance
Yeah.
and all that stuff, man. So Lance, thank you for that, man. The Know Your Bud segment is always different for everyone, and I love hearing you guys answer, man. So thank you for that, Lance.
Definitely. Definitely.
Hell
That's a
yeah.
cool
No,
series, man. I love that. That's great.
I'm super happy you enjoyed it, man. Some people come on and they're like, they're a little bit tentative, but then at the end they're like, man, that was fun. Now I do want to swing into some of these questions because I got a lot of these questions. Let's just try to see if we can get these answers as quick as
Sure.
possible. And like guys, I got Lance's Instagram up on screen right now. Go and follow him on Instagram. He's got tons of great stuff going on. 805 Lance. That's the man you guys want to follow on IG. But let's get into some of these questions, Lance, because first off, we got one from this is actually not a question. That was my bad. But Stoke Smoke has a question. Should we use Bovida with the Grove bag? So any of those two-way humidity packs, are they
That's a
worth
great
it?
question. Yeah. So quick education. So you have active and passive atmospheric modifications. So when you're talking about humidity packs, those are active atmospheric modifiers. If you properly maintain the moisture content in your bud, you never need an active atmospheric modifier. You don't need a humidity pack. It doesn't matter if it's them or if it's Integra. I know it's
Yeah.
their big competitor. You really don't need it. You really don't need it. The only time you need to introduce moisture into the equation, I hate to say this, you guys, but if you mucked up, like
Yeah.
if you messed up somewhere, and you guys know someone's talking about hanging their ladies upside, I'm the same way. I'm a whole plant hang upside down, just total traditionalist. If for some
Upside
reason
down.
you over dry your stuff, if for some reason you leave your jars tops off or you leave your bag open, but really you shouldn't need it. You really shouldn't need it, because if you have that balanced moisture, and that's the thing that happens with the bags, you guys. So really it's like its own little humidity pack, except the
Yeah.
moisture that's in that bag is coming from the biomass, it's coming from the flower. So we're actually leveraging what's existing in the plant versus introducing a salt-based solution or a glycerin-based solution or some sort of secondary element. You don't need it. If you guys know what you're
Yeah.
doing, you just don't need it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Stoke Smoke also says you don't need to burp it or break it. So there's a lot of benefits. You don't need to burp it or break it. And
Yeah.
Stefan comes in and asks, how does the grow bag work? Does he go straight into the bags after 14 to 16 days of drying, or a few days in a jar before the bags is better? He's never used them, but he's thinking of ordering them. And before you
100%.
answer, Lance, Stefano, use the code FROST and you can get a discount on the Grove bags. It's not an affiliate code, but it's a code to help everyone out who's in the iCan Champions of Frost Cup. So use that code and order it. But Lance, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, Stefano, great question. So after your 14 to 16 days, the most important thing again is making sure you have that right moisture content. So old school heads, you guys know, snap your sticks, squish your buds. If you're an advanced grower, you guys know the code. If you're not, then get a moisture meter, get a wood meter, and just probe it into
Smart.
those sticks, right? Those sticks and stems, and see what that moisture content is. But if you're spot on, you put it in the bag, you seal it, you set it, you forget it. That's it. You don't need to interrupt it with glass or with stainless or with turkey bags or with totes. You really don't need to. It's literally dry it to that right level, set it, forget it. I do recommend, at least 2 weeks. We do it just as best practice to cure it for 2 weeks. Some people just cure it for a week and start pinching it. Totally respect that. But it's definitely a best practice to, like most cure methodologies, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
How do they
Great.
work? That's how they work, man. It's magic. And it's polymers. So you guys know, and I know someone asked earlier, no, there's no crossovers, no transit. Our material is food grade safe. Just to give you an idea. I store my cilantro in it because anyone that buys cilantro, the stuff goes bad way too fast. So my
Yes.
Taco Tuesday, it
Yes.
only lasts that Tuesday. I don't get to
I
the next.
love
So,
cilantro, bro.
it's even growing my own, man. It turns when I keep it off the stem too long. So it really is unique in that what it does is it balances the moisture. So it allows the excessive moisture over 62% to escape the bag. It
Yeah.
also allows the oxygen. So something that happens with this plant when you take it down, a lot of people don't know this. When plants and trees are living, they take in CO2, they put out oxygen, and a little bit of CO2 too, but they mostly put out oxygen, right? When they're taken from their life force, they actually put out CO2 because they're trying to regenerate. So what the bag does is it maintains that CO2 in the space and allows the oxygen to dissipate. So you only have about 2% oxygen. So you're preventing the oxidation. And again, you're harnessing what's in the plant, the CO2 and the moisture. That's what creates that perfect environment to not need to burp, right? For that auto cure. So
I got you. Another great question. So shout out to all you guys dropping those questions, man. We also got another one because you mentioned the snap, right? So B Mooney asked, do you still need a stem snap before the grove bag cure?
I do. That's again, you guys, total old head move, but I still snap my nothing against a moisture meter. I just, you guys know,
Yeah.
the feel, where it's at. If you're a little too dry, if you're a little too wet, and what I mean by that. So if you're down to 10%, if you're at 12, 13%, it's okay. It can still go in the bag. If you're down to 50% RH, if you're upwards of 60, 62, 63% RH, that's okay. You can still put in the bag.
Yeah.
But you do want to make sure that it isn't too wet. Because one thing that a lot of people don't know, and we've had a few people are like, oh man, it popped off. There's mold, there's this, there's that. There's microbials everywhere. There's microbials on my hands right now, good germs, bad germs, right? There's
Facts.
microbials on this flower. The difference between this and something like tobacco, there's no natural repellent like there is in something like tobacco. Nicotine kills everything, right? So you aren't going to have mold. You can keep cigars at 40% humidity. You can keep it at 90% humidity. That nicotine will not allow microbials to grow.
Literally.
Cannabis, the magic number, 72% is such a common, especially for your Cubans, Reaper. You're spot on. So with cannabis, though, the danger zone is anything over 65% or about 14.5% moisture content, right? So when you're over 65% relative humidity, that creates a perfect environment for those mold spores to grow. So you do want to be cognizant and making sure you have that right level, right around 12% moisture content, or right around 50, 55% relative humidity if you're using a meter and checking it really quick and have an ambient space before putting it into the bag, for sure.
Yeah, great one, man. Again, so many great questions coming in from you guys. And you did sort of we touched on the snap, but you also sort of mentioned the moisture percentage, right? So Dirt Demon is asking, what's the perfect moisture percentage to go into the grove bag? I know a lot of people aim for like 62, there's 58, there's different sort of ranges. What would you say is an ideal one?
Yeah, so moisture content, Joseph, so we have people referencing moisture content or active water, which is here's a good analogy for you guys, a sponge, right? So a sponge, if you put a sponge in a jar and you put in an actual relative humidity meter, right, an RH meter, then you're going to know what the relative humidity is based on what moisture that sponge is putting off. You aren't going to know the amount of moisture that's bound in the middle of the sponge. A bud is not that different. You guys all know this. We all smoke it. We all grow it. When you look at a bud, the structure, it's denser in the middle than it is outside, right?
Yeah.
That's just natural. So that's why I compare it to a sponge. So when you're measuring relative humidity, that's the ambient moisture that's in that environment. When you're measuring the moisture content, that's the bound water that's in the middle of the bud, all the way to the stick or the stem, right?
Yeah.
So if you're talking moisture content, the magic number is 11.5%. That is the best I found. Now you can be 11%, you can be 12%, you can be 10%, you can even be up 13%. It's okay.
Yeah.
But 11.5 is that perfect. If you don't have a moisture meter, if you don't know how to snap sticks or whatever, take take a space, and this is where you can use a jar, you can use a bag, whatever. Take your RH meter, which you can get. I don't have one with me; it's down in my grow, but you can get a RH meter, a wireless one. Yeah, dude,
Something even smaller.
$8 on Amazon, $10
Yeah.
on Amazon. Even the smaller ones are $6. They're varying about 1 or 2%. But if you can only measure RH on the bud, take one of your buds off, one of your bigger buds, because you're on more bound water weight. Throw it in that sealed container with that, and just wait for a day or two. And if it's coming in around 55 to 60%, perfect.
Yeah.
Put on the bag. So that's a way, if again, you don't have the moisture meter, if you're a little more novice, a little bit newer to growing, that's another way to kind of do a hack to figure out where it's at.
Good one. And don't mix up like the moisture content of your flower with the relative humidity percentage. Those are two different percentages. So great one, Lance. Thanks for that. And guys, there are tons of Q&As, like FAQs on the Grow Bags website. Definitely check those out. You guys can see a lot of those. But Smoke in the Water is asking, does each bag have a minimum or maximum amount?
Good one, man. You guys I like your audience, dude. I got to hang out.
On point.
These guys really are on point, man. I love it. So, so that's a great question. So minimum, maximum amount. All of our bags are by measurement. So if you're domestic, you guys know everything from 1/8 up to 10 pounds. That's a pound bag right there. That's an ounce bag right there. If you guys are international, the most popular we sell over there are the 100 gram, the 250, 400, 500, essentially half kilo in kilos, right? And all the way up to 5 kilo bags. So our bags, you'll notice, are bigger. And the reason being is because a pound of my outdoor, which I know it's a little fluffy, it's a little larfy, versus let's just say Matt's dense indoor, because he's doing all indoor grow, right? His buds are going to weigh more than mine, but yet take up less space. That's just how it is, right? Yeah. Big larfy, small dense. Nothing wrong. Both are probably great buds, just two different things. So our bags are bigger. So I've gone into grow operations. I went into one in Arizona, indoor, right? And so they put, I want to say they were at about 900 grams in a bag, right? So they're just under 2 pounds in a 1 pound bag. And I'm like, okay, you guys, this is okay for storage, but for curing, here's a rule. You don't want to fill the bag more than 75%. You need that headspace. That's where the magic happens. So when the thing's off gassing, when the moisture is coming out of the bud in the bag, you need that 25% headspace. Another question that maybe people haven't asked, but I'll tell you right now, don't take all the air out of the bag when you fill it up. Don't try to blow air into it. Don't heat seal it. Like literally just put it in the bag, shut it, just let it stay as it is, and then you can heat seal it after that. You will see the bag puff up a little bit. And that's, again, just what's going on in that headspace. But don't fill it more than 75%. If that equals more than a pound because you're an indoor guy, or less than a pound because I'm an outdoor guy, that's totally fine. Just that's a good rule of thumb to know.
Good one, man. Shout out. Regardless if you guys are using jars, grow bag, whatever, don't fill it up to the top. Like leave some space for that magic. That magic that Lance is talking about is real. Magic is usually, people think it's like a myth, it's fake, but that magic is real, guys. Don't get copped with it. Now, the last thing I did want to touch on, Lance, is that Stoked Smoke says Amazon seems to have some knockoff fake bags, right? And then Dirt Demon actually just mentioned that he got food on Amazon with some bags that shipped and they looked like trash, and he went straight to the site. So can you just touch on that? Is there anything that people can look out for when it comes to fake grow bags, or is there somewhere that they should avoid?
That's an excellent question. I just had this conversation with our sales team this afternoon. I'm glad you guys asked this. Yeah, you guys know how Amazon is, and it's a tough double-edged sword, you guys, because Amazon profits from everything sold on Amazon. So companies like us that are legit, we go in and we complain to them, go, hey, these are booth bags. These over here are fake bags. They don't have the attributes. They're trying to knock us off. They even have our own, what we call bugs, right? So our little monikers, it's, here's the RH and all the rest of it, our bugs. And we go on, and you guys, we constantly go rounds with Amazon, because Amazon, of course, they don't want to take it down because the knockoffs are making them money too. And this isn't just centric to us. This is women's purses. This is everything is knocked off on Amazon. A lot of times it's knocked off by Amazon, if you want. Yeah.
So anyway, Nike sneakers I was looking to buy on Amazon, soccer shoes. Those are,
and I love what Dirt Demon said. Ship the shit back, man. Like those guys, it's just straight boof. So you will see, we went on to Amazon. We own Amazon as far as grow bags and terp blocks. So if you go to our authorized sites, and you'll see, and we have, it costs us more money, but it's totally worth it. There's a validation process we go through that shows that these are legitimate in that these are genuine. So
Yeah.
do keep an eye out for that on Amazon. I do apologize because some of you have bought from our site. Our site is having a little bit of issues on the e-commerce side. We're working through that. We're going to have a new site that's going to be coming out in a couple of months. Thank you so much for those of you who are patient and that are loyal. I know the site's janky. I'm the head of marketing. I totally get it. I'm the head of business development. I totally understand. We're working on it. Thank you for your patience. If you guys ever have any issues, you can definitely reach out to us. Either at sales@growbags.com or info@growbags.com. If you're having some sort of glitches or problems, feel free to reach out. If you've had any problems in the past, we're always good about taking care of you guys. Like we'll send out additional product. We'll double up your order. If you're having challenges, definitely we'll take care of you because you guys, we're from the community. We're for the community. I'm a grower. The guy who started the company is a former grower. I'd say 2 or 3 of our other guys on the team are growers, and we're not a big company, but several of us are growers. We come from the community, come from the culture, and we support you guys. And yeah, support your local grow shop. That's enough.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Prometheus, spot on, man. Like we love the hydro shops. They're having a hard time too, you guys. Like support your local hydro shop, support your smoke shop, support your head shop, your bodega. Go in, purchase the product. Yes, that's us selling to a reseller, but we want to support our community. And those hydro shops were the ones that were with us from the beginning. They're the ones that had the products we needed as growers. So definitely take care of your local shops as well, for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that so many of you guys are aware of this, and so many of you guys are happy with the Grove Bags customer service, getting your products either directly from Grove Bags or from your local grow stores. So shout out to everyone, man. The cannabis community is strong, man. That's definitely strong. Now, before we actually close off, I just did see this question coming from Stefano, and he asked it twice. So I do want to see if we can get this one answered before we close off.
100%. So Stefano, this is something we just dropped. So we don't discriminate. And let you guys, what the hell does that mean? Let me explain. So we want to be anywhere flowers present. We recognize that some people are in what we call in the industry the traditional market, right? Yeah. I'm not going to call it the illegal or illicit market because this plant should never have been made illegal in the first place. So totally take that out of your vernacular. We service and we cater to both the traditional market and the licensed or regulated market. That's what we call from a PC perspective.
Yeah.
So having said that, we definitely recognize that there's people that still transport packs and they want to be discreet. And so a lot of those people transport those packs in a vacuum sealed scenario. So I'm stoked to say, and you'd almost think I paid Stefano for this. I swear I didn't. I've never talked to Stefano in my life, but we came out with a solution called SafeVac last year. So this took us a long time, you guys. So appreciate your patience in me explaining. So it took us a while, but we actually were able to bring Terplock technology into the vacuum seal space. So SafeVac is a vacuum seal solution. It's custom cut, so it's like your Space Saver, your kitchen bags, right?
Yeah.
So it's custom cut, so you can make it whatever size you want to, but you can vacuum seal the bud, and it will auto cure it in that state. So you're like, probably first thing you're saying is like, Lance, you said to have headspace, not to collapse. You need to have the headspace. The way we design the technology, you vacuum seal it. You don't have to all the way to your heart's content. Like this is your extra bedding that you never use, but in winter, you just vacuum seal as you normally would. Don't suffocate it. But then what you'll notice over the next day or two is that it will pillow up a little bit. It'll expand a little bit because of that off-gassing we're talking about, where it's dissipating the oxygen and it's retaining the CO2. So SafeVac is a way to go if you vacuum seal. A bonus is it's freaking freezer safe, and it does a phenomenal job in the freezer as well. So for those of you, I'm not a big freezer fan, but for those of you who freeze your bud, or if you're doing fresh frozen, we have both SafeVac, but we actually have X-Ice that just came out for fresh frozen, which mitigates frostbite, which is a cool solution too. We're all about technology, but go for SafeVac if you like to vacuum seal, but do not vacuum seal our regular bags. They're not designed for that, so I definitely would avoid that on our regular Terplock.
Yeah, don't do that one. Don't do that one. But thanks for that, Lance. That was actually pretty useful and helped me to understand myself as well, man. So shout out to you guys. But Lance, before we actually close off, shout out yourself for everyone who wants to find out what you got going on, because I think we touched on so many great things, man. And for everyone who may not have gotten your question answered, definitely check out the Grove Bags website, because they got tons of FAQs on there that will answer all you guys' questions. They got videos, all types of stuff. But Lance, if anyone just wants to hit you up, see what's going on, or maybe see what cool car or meal you're gonna be having on your Instagram next, where can they find you?
Definitely, man. So you can find me at 805 Lance, mostly on the G, but you can find me anywhere on 805 Lance. If you guys are more on the suits than the root side, you want to talk on the professional side, definitely feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. LanceLambert.com will take you to my LinkedIn. You can see some of my little grows, mossy giants, and projects in there. As you guys can tell, like I said, it's all about cars, cannabis, and cuisine when it comes to what I'm doing. Definitely love my hobbies. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me personally, as far as following the company, Grove Bags, you can find us at grovebags.com. If you guys are over in Europe, which several of you are, grovebags.eu. We also, on the handles on IG, Facebook, X, etc., is Grove Bags. We always try to keep up on all the information. You guys, we're always doing contests and we're always supporting competitions, including Matt's.
Yeah.
We're going to be sponsoring his competition. So we always post stuff up on the IG. If you really want to keep up on what's the latest as far as technology, rather it be excise, SafeVac, all this stuff we're coming out with, go to our website and subscribe to our newsletter. We do a weekly newsletter. It's education. It's not a newsletter to sell. It's a newsletter to really celebrate this community, to support the community and lead with education. So feel free to sign up to our newsletter. When we do have 420 contests, we just did a 710 contest with our friends at Peacemaker. We gave away dab cubes. We always do really dope competitions and contests with friends of ours in the industry, and we have a lot of cool friends. So keep an eye out for that, and keep growing, you guys. It's all about building this community.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Lance, thank you so much for coming on, man. I'm super stoked about this. I'm super stoked for all you guys who are going to grow some of that frost and use the Grove Bags to dry and cure, because that's going to be the most important part of you guys to win that competition, man. So, Lance, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out with us, man. On behalf of everybody that's tapped in, everyone that will watch it afterward, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you.
Thanks to your community, man. You've got an absolutely solid community, you guys. Anyone ever wants to hit me up, feel free. Nothing but love, and love seeing the global support, man. You got a good thing going on, Matt. I'm glad we're partnered with you, dude. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, man. I'm glad I'm partnering with you guys, man. Thank you for that, bro. Much love, man. Now, guys, before we actually head out, we got to make sure you guys hit that like, smash that bell, but most importantly, stay high and stay motherfucking fly. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.